Just about. Good afternoon.
8 plus 7 a.m.
3
plus
p.m.
you didn't even let me do the math.
Oh, sorry.
Exactly 8 hours, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Good to see you.
You too?
Goodness. Do you know how many days it's been since the CrossFit Games?
17, 18?
Does it feel like, yesterday, or does it feel like 17 days or 18 days, or does it feel like a year ago?
Um, no, it goes quite fast. I think um, time off goes quicker than you want it to.
You look 5 years younger than when I saw you at the games. Everyone does.
Yeah, I think that's probably what 20 events will do to you.
Yeah,
It was just that
crazy.
first day. The first day was brutal.
Yeah, t tell me. Well, before you say that, I was looking at your scores. Man, you put quite the run together at the end, huh? That first second.
When? Which day?
Yeah, it was, echo thruster, jump pull yoke, and then the machine.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some good events like coming once those events were announced. I mean, to be honest, the um sled pull event went way better than I thought it was going to. Like I wasn't expecting to win that event at all. But
God,
yeah,
yeah, you did so good.
thank you. And a very mixed event, mixed week.
And you wore the leader jersey?
Yeah. Although why do I keep getting it on the 1RM events? Like which is not the sort of event I want to be wearing the leader jersey for.
But it is, but these other ones that you did good. I mean, this echo thruster a second and this jump pull yoke, I mean, this is some classic CrossFit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to realize that I those are the sort of events that I do well in.
Um, tell me before I do want to talk about day one. I do want to talk about some of the days. Tell me about your thoughts, like as you pull away from last year. I'm guessing you have like a narrative, like you start to tell yourself, and then now as you pull away from the second, this last year, where you took third, you're starting to tell yourself kind of a story. What are those stories, and is there a difference?
Um, I don't know. I quite often feel like the stories that I tell myself are not really positive stories. Like last year, it was almost like, obviously I was super excited, incredibly surprised to be on the podium. But I was like, oh, well, like they were sort of good events for me, or like these people weren't there, or like that happened to that person. And like if that didn't happen, then they might have been in that position. And like, you know, I think people always talk about like certain people having better events and that might impact the leaderboard in one way. But quite often it's also like the knock-on impact of that one bad event or that one bad call in that event for that person, or and how that almost like shifts the momentum for them. And like I think those are the sorts of things that I sometimes think about. Like it's not just, oh, that person had a bad event, but like if that bad call actually was a call that went in their favor, what then would have been the impact on the momentum for them in that.
Yep.
But I think like, so last year it was just sort of, yeah, a bit of disbelief. And then I think, honestly, after this year, like it's still not a super favorable story that I tell myself, but I think I feel like the sort of athlete that like I'm not the most talented. I don't pick things up the fastest. I'm not maybe the most naturally like best at everything, but I work really, really hard. And I think, I sort of carried that into I was like that with gymnastics when I used to do that. I was definitely like that with swimming. And like, I think that sort of got exposed a little bit in some of those like sort of higher skill events, or the skills that in theory were kind of last minute announcements. I think that's where I felt that the most, that I sort of didn't have the time that I would like to work on them properly, to then make them what you end up like seeing for the rest of the things that I'm good at on the floor, that I've had that time to sort of work on. But you know, that's the nature of CrossFit, I guess.
It's interesting. Does it? I think the perception of you is probably a little bit different from the outside. You have an air of professionalism and confidence about you, and I think if people think of you as one of the more rounded athletes in the field, like people like if like I think like if they were like, okay, we're gonna pick soccer teams for the CrossFit Games, they're gonna only play soccer this year. Like I think you get picked first. Or if they're like, we're gonna pick baseball, I think people would pick you first. You know what I mean? Okay, we're gonna pick volleyball. I think people would pick you first. I think people, at least maybe I'm projecting, but I perceive you as like you're a mover. You're a serious mover. Like you understand how your body moves. You carry yourself how your body moves. You take everything with a air of like focus and seriousness.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I don't mean to diminish. I mean, everyone also knows you work hard, and diversity isn't something that stops you. And so it's interesting to hear you say that. But I do get that feeling from you that you tell yourself stories. I'll tell you a story. One time I was in a taxi cab and I had this driver, and he weighed 500 pounds, and it was during a storm, and he was taking me to the airport, and it was 4 a.m. And he goes, and I was with a female coworker. We had made a movie together. We were at a film festival, and he pulls the car over on the side of the highway, and he pees in a Coke bottle in the taxi cab.
What?
And I remember later on when she told the story, she goes, that was the most disgusting thing ever. And I remember telling myself the story, hey, I thought, wow, that was really cool. I'll never forget that cab ride. Yes, I thought it was disgusting, but I thought if he wouldn't have done that, I'd never remember that cab ride, right?
Yeah.
But because he did that, I'll never forget that cab ride.
I mean, that's a okay. Yeah, go on.
You know what I mean? So there's different. I wonder if you have to. I just wonder if because I was trying to think. It was tripping on that. About I was kind of playing back everything I know about you and watching all these videos about you, and I wonder if you. And I noticed that you described how I pictured you tell yourself the stories too. Like you're pretty hard on yourself, and everything is like you're picking at things. Does it have to be that way in order to get better? Because like, I mean, that moment that you had with Tia at the games last year and several moments this year, from the outside, it's like, holy shit, she must be so happy with herself.
I think there's some things that like I'm definitely happy with. I think, unfortunately, it's sort of the double-sided nature of like being elite in sport and pushing to be elite in sport. Is it that like the things that make you elite are also not super pleasant? Did you see Jason Hopper's Instagram post recently that was like a long list of like
yes
so it was a really interesting post, and it's very kind of like on the money, I think, with a lot of what the mentality is, I think, amongst the elites, that it's really hard to balance, and like the skew off of the balance is the thing that like really drives you and like pushes you to be at that top level, but it's a really hard thing to live with. You know, like I think ultimately as well, you know, winning, or in Jason's case, obviously, like podiuming for me, it changed my life in some ways and it didn't in others. Like I am no different a person. I am no better a person because I podiumed, or because I podiumed back to back. And what Jason was saying is that he's no different a person because he won it. And I think a lot of people, like when you're striving to get to that point, like you tell yourself that, when I achieve this, this will change everything. Like I will become the person that I always wanted to be and whatever. And like fundamentally, it just doesn't change. Like nothing changes. And you hear that from like loads and loads of like the top people, is that it's not quite the sort of like, I don't know, self-affirming thing that you think it's going to be. And then when you realize that, it can be quite unsatisfying. But then that unsatisfaction makes you think, okay, well, I need to just win it again and like, or do it again or do better. And like, so it's always just about more and more and more. And that's not always like psychologically that healthy. And it can be quite hard it can be hard for the people around you. Like it's a hard mindset also to just keep to yourself. So it tends to be something that you apply to others as well. You expect others to do better, to do more, to be more sort of, you hold others to that same sort of really high standard. So I think, yeah, like actually coming into the games this year, I was almost like so nervous about all of the events that had been released up until that point that I really like, I was ready for having to be happy with a top 10 finish. Like I was like, you know, the events don't really favor me. And there are some people here who are super, super skillful, who are really strong. And like, I was so nervous to the point where I almost just like didn't want to do it. And my coach just like sits and listens to me say these things, and he's like, well, he obviously knows that I'm fit and he knows that things are going well, but because in my head I'm like, oh god, I don't know how it's going to go, and like I don't train with anyone either, so I don't really have that like feedback all the time, and so I always just like never feel fit enough. And like that's the thing that's quite like a scary, unpleasant thing to sit with all the time.
It's wild to hear you say that. The thing about unfulfilling, yeah, I think you know, I've told the story a million times. I can't remember the exact quarterback, but there was a famous quarterback who I saw in 60 Minutes one time, and he had won a couple Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls, and they said, "Hey, how was it?" And they go, "It's not as good as going fishing with my brothers and my dad and my mom." And he didn't expect that. And he said he would trade going fishing with his whole family over another Super Bowl win. And it is like that, right? You get there and there's no there. You think there's nothing, what's the word? Ephemeral. There's nothing like you think something's going to be there, but it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was interesting to hear you take it one step further. And so instead of going inside and maybe tinkering with what that misunderstanding was, you were like, well, I just need one more. Then it'll be there.
That's quite commonly, like that's what people think, and it's one of the things that is quite hard to explain to people, because so many people like look at like the elite athletes and they're like, oh, they've got everything, and it's like, oh yeah, like you do, it's like really cool and it's very exciting and we get to do like fun things, and ultimately like what we do is not that serious. But at the same time, like there's other things in my life that I would love to do that are just put on hold at the moment, because this is what I want to do at this point in time. Like this is the time that I have to do whatever I can here before I can then hopefully go and do all those other things.
It's kind of like, have you ever you have this spot in your house where your cell phone, you always put your cell phone, and then you're leaving the house and you go look and it's not there, but you check that spot like 4 more times as you walk around the house looking for it. You ever do that?
I mean, I wish I had a spot in my house that I put my phone. I probably should, because it would do me well.
Sometimes like, well, hey, stop looking there. You've looked there 5 times. It's not there. It's not there. It's wild. Do you think that I like the way also you said it's hard to live with that, almost like though that some part of you knows that you maybe don't want to tinker with that because that's also what drives you.
Yeah. I think it's just like knowing when those thoughts come the worst and like expecting them. Because like for me, the run up to the games in terms of like when the events start getting announced, if the events start getting announced, like that like 2-week period, that is always the worst for me before any competition. It's like when you start to go and you're seeing everyone, when everyone is full on posting their highlight reel of like bits of them doing bits of the workouts but not the full workout, like, and everything's cut so you can't really see how anything is actually set up. You're like, okay, well, I'm guessing they're going unbroken on everything then. And like all of those sorts of like, not that they're always like intentional mind games, but just like those are the things that start to come in at that point in time. And I know that that's the time where like my mind is against me the most, like telling me that I am not fit enough, I'm not strong enough, haven't done enough, like that it's almost as if like all of the sessions that haven't gone like 100% perfect, they come into my mind at that point in time. And like, I know
the opposite of a highlight reel starts to play in your brain.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you'd pushed a little bit more on this, or if you hadn't failed that set, or if like, whatever. And it just makes it not very pleasant. But I also think that's where then like, I've actually started working with a sports psychologist a few months ago. Just like having things in place to deal with those things, like when they come up, and knowing that those, like, you're never going to stop those thoughts, but you can have strategies to deal with those thoughts. So like this was the first time where I have had him in the run up for a competition, and like not with me physically, but just like I've been working with him in the run up to a competition, and just having those things then to carry forward to then hopefully deal with like those same feelings when they come up next time.
That feeling, I know that feeling. It's a crazy feeling when you prepare for something so thoroughly, and then prior to it, you start imagining leaving. Like I've had to do speaking engagements, and like a minute before, I picture myself running to my car and driving away and being like, nothing bad's going to happen. Just go home. And I'm like, holy shit, I am in a bad place.
That's the thing. It's like, I know that I'm never going to drop out. I'm not going to not do it.
Right.
But like, it's like, I just need to start at that point in time. I just need to start. Like the competition needs to start.
Yeah. Do you do that? Were you like actually at the games and you kind of start picturing yourself like moseying out to the parking lot and packing up your shit and being like, hey, I'm just going home?
It's not like a, I don't picture myself like leaving, but I'm just like, oh God, I don't want to do it. Like, it's that sort of like, oh no. Like,
does that ever come back during the week or no? So once it's 3, 2, 1, go.
Once it's in, the feelings are completely different.
Yeah. And then you take a second and a fourth.
Yeah.
And does that give you any reprieve?
Yeah, I think like actually the first event was one of the ones that I was most nervous about, because actually I tested that event twice.
Oh boy.
The first one I did it with I actually did it with Marquand Jones, because I was training at his gym in New Jersey, and I just did 4 rounds of the pull-ups and shoulder to overhead.
You're skipping the row even?
No, did the row.
Oh, okay.
But then went into the 4 rounds, and just to like see where my grip was going into the last round. And after it, like I basically had like, it felt like Fran lung, like my lungs were just burning. And then the next day, like I noticed that my biceps were a bit sore, but they weren't like couldn't straighten my arm out type sore. And then a couple of weeks later, we tested it again, but pushed for a slightly faster row, and tried to see how that would play out in the rest of the workout. And then I went into 15 pull-ups in the last round. And after that, first of all, it felt way worse. It was maybe a little bit slower as well over the course of it, even though my row pace was like, I think 3 seconds faster per 500. So 6 seconds faster overall. And after that attempt, my biceps, like I could not straighten my arms. And I was like, I am in trouble here, because that must have been the Monday before the game started the following week. And it took until like the following Sunday for me not to have DOMs in my arm. So I was like freaking out, because I was like, we're like 3 days out from the games and I still have bicep DOMs. And I need to do that same workout that gave me that level of bicep DOMs again on Wednesday. And it was like the feeling of each workout just almost got worse and worse.
Yeah.
So like by the Wednesday that I did it, I knew exactly what my row pace was going to be, but I had a bit of like a freak out in the morning, because I was listening to some of the girls on the bus and they were like, oh, my row pace is going to be this. And my row pace was like 7 seconds quicker per 500 than what they were saying. So I was like, holy shit, have we like really
right
over-egged this? And that's when my coach comes in and he's like, Lucy, you've practiced this. Like, you know that you're fine holding that row pace, like calm down. And so I was expecting that workout really to be basically like a short girls workout. It's like a range of motion workout. Yeah, okay, there's the 4 minutes on the rower, but like for the most part, people usually row at a similar sort of pace. So let's say that you're a shorter girl, you're maybe getting off 3 to 5 seconds behind what most people would be, let's say. But like pull-ups, shoulder to overhead, they're both range of motion movements. So I was just like trying to figure out basically how we could cut off that range as much as possible. Because I actually have quite long arms comparatively, which actually meant it didn't surprise me that Maddie Sturt did so well in that workout. Not just because she's short, she obviously did incredibly as well.
Right.
But she was the last off our heat off the rower.
Oh,
and
I didn't know
go back
that.
and watch it. She was like fully last off, and I was first, and she overtook me. Like, yeah, mad. It was super impressive. But I was expecting that workout to be more of the short girls, just like bang, bang, bang. But it was just grip. It was pure grip.
Hey, do you know her time? Let me see if I can. Oh, I can see her time. So you got 8:10. She got 8:03.
Yeah.
Did you hear the crowd? Did you know that at some point that you were in a race with her?
Well, so I knew that I was in a race with her, but I didn't. She was in lane 1, and I did not know which direction I was looking to look at lane 1.
Right.
So I kept looking around, but I was looking the wrong way. And yeah, I didn't know. But it was my grip was just falling apart. Like, so I went unbroken round 1 and 2. We broke round 3, broke round 4, but I broke round 4 at like 15, and then I think I had to break again with like 3 to go, because I was like hanging on by my fingertips. And then basically the same happened on the last round. And so I was just like, my grip was just falling apart by that point. But yeah, I think like once I came second in that one, where I wasn't super confident on how that event would go, then I was like, okay, like I'm in decent shape here, like on an event that I probably shouldn't have been, I don't think, where I was in that event. Then it was like, okay, like in terms of fitness and stuff like that, I'm where I need to be.
When you break in an event like that, that's such a fast event and there's so much shit going on or all around you, are you able to chill? Like, do you break, or does, like, I would think that panic just sets in every time, even if it's like like a program break, even if you're like, hey, I have to do this. Is it possible to get any solace or rest, or does it immediately when you come off the bar, you're like, shit, everyone's getting ahead of me?
No, I just sort of start a countdown. I usually like have a rough idea of how long I want to spend on the floor, and then I'll go up again.
is it it's a countdown? Is it a number of breaths or is it an actual countdown? Like, do you start 5, 4, 3, or is it
Sort
like
of
2
depends
breaths?
on what I struggle, like what meant that I was having the break.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was a gassiness, then it might be a sort of certain number of breaths to try and bring the heart rate down a little bit. If it's a planned break, then I know I'll usually start like an actual countdown in my head. But yeah, or if, in the last 2 rounds where it was like I was hanging on for dear life, basically, I knew that I had to break for long enough that I could actually hold on for a decent chunk of time. So then it was just like trying to feel out my forearms and when I could jump back up again.
Did you have crazy DOMs after that one? Like, was Thursday pretty, like, you're like, "Ooh, yeah, I feel that."
Yeah, but you know what? I can't remember feeling it anywhere near as much as I did before.
Okay.
Like, I think the DOMs, I don't think the DOMs can be as bad as what they were like in my first 2 tests, because I don't remember being like, oh god, I'm really, really concerned here.
How is it you do it the first time and you would think the second time you did it a week later that you would have less DOMs, but you had more? Does that
Mm.
compute with you? Or are you like, is that a scratch your head moment?
I think just,
Because right, you're supposed to adapt, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just sometimes wonder whether, like, if you're not fully 100% recovered from the first attempt, then you risk ending up compounding stuff. It's something that I actually want to talk to my coach about, because like the same thing happened when we tested the Mayhem GHD toaster bar workout. Was like I had bad DOMs after we tested it, but like after competition, I like couldn't get out of bed properly for like a week, and like maybe even, I think it was like 10 days. My abs were just like completely fried. And part of that will be like competition intensity even in that scenario, but obviously like in the other circumstance it might just have been the time frame wasn't enough. Can I just address this?
please.
I of course take creatine, so please stop suggesting that I take creatine. And I of course drink water, if that is
You do drink water? I had always heard you don't drink water.
me.
No, I'm joking. I mean,
I was gonna say, like, this is like, thanks for the suggestions, but also like come up with something that's a bit more real.
I love you, Lucy. Hey, when you do stuff like that, like how obviously if you're doing 125 pull-ups, there's 125 eccentric movements, right? As you're coming down.
Mhm.
Are those things you think about in training? Like, hey, it's not actually the pull-ups that are going to cause the problem. It's going to be the descent. Like, do you do tweaks like that? Like, is your coach like, hey, feel yourself coming down, like make sure you're not giving more resistance than you need? Because that was the only thing I was thinking about, why it hurts you more the second time, that maybe you were getting just more.
I think there was a couple of things. I think like we were playing around
Lucy's
with
not used to Rambler. You have to give Rambler Rambler's a unique character. Okay.
we were playing around with like grip width on pull-ups and stuff like that.
Okay.
But also I just think 125 pull-ups, where it is essentially sets of 25 with like 15 seconds rest in between, it is a high density workout. Like it's always going to get you quite aggressively. And so I just think some of these things just, they are what they are.
Any tidbits or anything valuable you got from the sports psychologist that you could share?
No, my sports psychologist.
Was it
away free tips.
Was it helpful?
Yeah. I also just think sometimes it's helpful to like have someone to talk to through these things with. Because I think like there's very few people that like really understand like top level sport and like how people think about things and deal with those things in top level sport. Like Cyril is incredible
That's
with
your
that.
coach, Cyril.
Yeah. Like we've talked about all sorts of stuff, and like I've said it 1,000 times that like he has seen me at some of my absolute lowest when we were going through the injury and everything like that. But then there's also some things like, ultimately he's not a psychologist and he knows his limits and he knows like where he can and can't help me. And I just think that, yeah, sometimes you need that sort of external person that can shed a bit of light on maybe the way that you're thinking or like some patterns that you don't really see and all of that sort of stuff. And like help you deal with that sort of thing.
Well, and it's also his role too, right? Even if he does understand it, it might not be beneficial for him to go in that lane. It's kind of like the difference between a mom and a dad, right? I set boundaries at home, and my wife listens to the protests. But my job is to set the boundaries so the kids know, and then they're free inside those boundaries. Or Cyril's job is to get the most out of you, and not to worry about your feelings, right? I'm being a little. I'm being a little. That
you're saying. I think
I'm being a little harsh, but yeah, like so even if he could do it, it might not be appropriate because he needs to stay in his lane. Like, hey, this car has to go as fast as it can, and if the guy who's in charge of the engine is like, you'll make the engine blow up, that's his. He needs to worry about that.
I think as well, like Pat put on his
Vellner.
Yeah, he's doing the event recaps on Instagram at the moment, and he did his handstand event one, and he was talking about like how he gets the yips, he says, in handstand events. So it's like a little.
What are yips?
Like a little mental block type thing.
Okay.
And you get them in all sorts of sports. So like, what Simone Biles had, they call it in gymnastics the twisties, where you basically like lose orientation in the air, and like it's really quite dangerous, obviously, with the sorts of skills that they're doing in gymnastics.
Very dangerous. Yep.
She had. And yeah, so sometimes and it's for the most part, it's usually like just a psychological thing. And it can be related to stress and like all sorts of stuff. And, like a coach doesn't know how to deal with those sorts of things. And so for me, I sometimes experience that sort of thing when it comes to cleans or when it comes to snatches, when it gets heavy, and like I have that sort of consciousness about my wrist and like all of that sort of thing. And like that's not something that's on Cyril as a CrossFit coach to really know and understand how to get me out of that thing. So like that's some of the things that we have been talking about in our sports psychology sessions.
I'm trying to speaking of yips, I don't know if I remember this right, but I think when Danielle got to the press to handstand on the parallettes, I think you were, and she was there for a while. I think you were in her heat, right?
Yeah, I think so. She was in the last heat.
I think I remember you pulling up, right? Like she was stuck there, and then you pulled up down on the other end. That was a crazy moment. I felt for her like crazy right then. It was nuts.
I've not actually seen it, to be fair. I've not watched it.
Yeah, she got there so far ahead of everyone and then just couldn't get up. She was getting just stuck. And you could tell she had the potential. And then I think you pulled up next, and then one by one, all the girls pulled up.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that must have been a crazy. I would love to hear her feelings on that. When you so then you do the run and you do great on the run also. Take a fourth.
Yeah. I was a little bit. I think I need to work on my pacing a bit better on run events. I always sort of find that I fade a little bit at the end. So like Ella, for instance, passed me on the last incline, and I just sort of had nothing, like nothing to fight with her for, fight with her with even, and then like the whole of the last lap ended up being about just making sure that like Ellie didn't catch me, for instance, because I didn't want to slide from 4th to 5th. But like being in 3rd for most of the event was a bit annoying to then lose that on the start of the last lap.
Who was it to?
Ella Wilkinson.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry, you said that. Were you was that one? Was that also one that was hard for you to enjoy the victory or the 4th place because you thought you were going to do better instead of enjoying that? Do you beat yourself up for that?
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit of frustration. But I think, to be honest, like on that Wednesday, there was no time to feel anything about any of the workouts. It was just like, okay, that one's done, like on to the next one. Like you didn't really have that opportunity to dwell on it too much.
How many bags were you carrying with you?
I think I had 3.
3.
I had like my training bag, my cooler, like that was like a big Yeti roller cooler, and then did we know all the events? Yeah, we knew all the events. And then like a big sort of duffel bag full
with
of like
clothes and stuff.
Clothes, different shoes, like all of that sort of stuff.
What's in the training bag? Like goggles and grips and
yeah, just your normal sort of training kit,
and creatine.
Creatine, of course. Yeah, just like grips, whatever we needed for that day. That was just like the sort of simple stuff.
Was that difficult for you to stay organized? The men seem to have a lot of problems when I was in the men's side staying organized. Their shit was everywhere.
Yeah, I would say that like my stuff, I'm just an overpacker as well. Like I would rather have too much of everything with spares of everything so that I have options rather than packing exactly what I need and risk like forgetting anything or losing anything. Like
you brought 2 bathing suits?
No, because we only got given one.
Oh, okay.
But like I had 2 pairs of goggles and like I always have like 3 or 4 different knee sleeves depending on what the events are. And yeah, like you should have seen what I brought out to America. I must have had like 8 different sets of knee sleeves and like
wow.
I think I had 2 sets of grips, but then ordered more out there. So I ended up with 5 or 6 sets of grips with me. I'd rather have too much than panic and not have anything.
Hey, that's how I am with filming too, by the way. Like I panic. Like I bring 3 cameras even though I only need 1. And then as soon as I get there, I go on Amazon. I'm like, you better get an extra battery. I start going into freak out. Did you order that extra knee sleeves on Amazon and have it sent to your place?
No, I brought all of those out with me.
Oh, I thought you said you ordered an extra pair of knee sleeves once you
grips.
Oh, grips. Sorry, grips. Did you order? You get to the games, and then you would go on Amazon. You're like, I'm ordering more grips.
Yeah, like I basically messaged like the Frog guys, and we're just like, can we just send me some more pairs out?
I wonder if they're in the back room. They're like, we already have it bagged. It's Lucy. We expected this.
Yeah.
Did you lose anything? Did you lose stuff over the weekend? Jason was saying like he showed up with five shaker bottles, and on day 1 he only had 1.
No, I think I actually did a pretty good job of like bringing everything back. Last year at the games, someone took my Wadapalooza like podium shaker from basically like if you leave anything on the floor, it just gets like dumped on a communal table that then you take whatever you have. Yeah. So someone took my shaker, which I was really sad about. And I even messaged Wadapalooza and was like, I don't suppose you have any left, because I really it was like a pink and purple, like it was really cute.
Anyway, it never showed up on the Lost and Found table?
No. And then so it must have shown up at the Lost and Found, but someone else took it.
Oh man.
And then at
I took something from that table too, by the way. I saw a Red Bull on there and I just walked by and drank it.
I think that you can take.
Yeah, okay.
But then at WFP, like literally later that month, I was using my Games bottle, my Games Yeti, and someone took that.
Oh man.
Which I was super bummed about because that was obviously like I'd podiumed at that game. So it was like a sentimental bottle. So yeah, I was really sad about that.
Rambler, thank you. See, the Rambler's even giving me advice. You need to use Sony batteries. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Giving all sorts of advice. Batteries for me and creatine for you. Hey, was there a moment that was? I hear moments like James Sprague forgetting his weight belt and his dad having to run back to the hotel room. I was there when Jason Hopper couldn't find his bathing suit before the swim event, and he's sending his wife out to the car to look for it. Did you have any moments at the games where you're like, oh, where's my jump rope? Or, oh my God, I forgot my timing was wrong and I didn't get to warm up. Or
Yeah, there was one that Cyril had to go back to my Airbnb, but I can't remember what it was that he was getting. Yeah,
but it was before an event, and you were like, hey, I don't have this.
It was, but thankfully it was like it might have been the Saturday or something where actually we had just a little bit more time, like between one of the events, which honestly in that weekend was super rare because the schedule was like jam-packed. But yeah, like I remember it not being like a really time critical issue. So that was nice because I would have panicked.
What did you do? There was only one day where I want to say it was Sunday, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Saturday where you guys did get like a 2 or 3 hour break. And I saw some of the athletes were going home. What did you do that day?
Yeah, I think on the Sunday between the first and second event, I went back and just had a lie down. And then between the second and third, I just chilled at the venue. Like spent a bit of time with the PTs and stuff like that. Just get a bit of a rub down and yeah, just try and relax.
And how did your body respond to these long days and these 20 workouts?
Honestly, after the first day, it didn't get worse. Like the first day was pretty savage. And then actually, I think the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I sort of felt okay. I definitely felt better than what I was expecting. I think like after Wednesday, I was a little bit panicked because like not panicked, but I was just like, okay, like this is going to be a really savage weekend. But it was actually like it was mainly the legs after Wednesday. Obviously, like everyone was getting cramp. Thankfully, I didn't get cramp. But it just sort of it didn't get worse after that, which was quite nice. Like I was tired on the Sunday, but I wasn't like so physically just done.
I was going to ask you about that. So no cramping, huh? Which is pretty crazy because I mean the cramping was like really prevalent.
Yeah. Like,
you have a history of any cramping?
I'm not a massive cramper, like touch wood. But I think if I was going to cramp on anything, I think it would have been the bike. But that ended up feeling okay. Because the thing is as well, like we had no real sort of time to get proper nutrition in or any sort of decent nutrition in. And the schedule was so close together and they were pretty aggressive events in terms of like the volume or the impact or whatever. It doesn't surprise me that people were cramping come the swim. But like I was incredibly lucky that because I've had cramp before in swimming, like, but it's normally like, it would normally be the little bit of like VMO on your leg. So like the inside part here.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what VMO is. Is that a part of the body?
Vastus medialis. So it's like the middle. It's okay. Like the part closest to the middle of your leg. Anyway, and it's not super pleasant, like you can't push off the wall properly and stuff like that. But I also was very lucky in the swim event that like I didn't really need to push, so I wasn't really at risk of getting a cramp.
Going into the games, you know, you mentioned, we talked about your uncertainties and the new events coming up. On the opposite end, do you feel, if you feel like a 2 in terms of your security, just thinking about the events as a totality and where you're going to place, when the swim event comes up, do you feel a 9 or a 10 in your certainty to win it? Like, is it still a given, or is it's all the panic is still there? And
I think it depends on what the event is with the swimming.
how about this? How about this particular one?
When this one got announced, I was pretty confident. Like,
You were.
yeah.
Like, did you actually, like, do you think you enjoyed that event in a way that maybe most people will never get to enjoy an event at the CrossFit Games, in terms of like, that's how good you feel about it?
I don't think that how good I felt about it correlates to the enjoyment in the
Okay.
way that a lot of
Okay.
people expect it to.
Okay.
Like, I put up a Q&A yesterday about like, and recently, so like one asking for what events people want me to like debrief on YouTube, and another one where it was just a Q&A, and like loads of people were like, oh, like how much did you love the swim event, or like they want me to debrief the swim event and stuff like that. And it was fine. It sounds really bad. Like, just because I won it and won it really comfortably doesn't mean that I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Because for me, like, I loved the events where the race was really close. Like, even though I came out on the wrong side, I loved racing Emma on the run, hang, squat, clean workout. I loved the race on the hopper, the second hopper event. Like, those are the bits that I really, really love.
You love to compete.
I love to compete, and I love a close race, and I love like looking around and seeing where I'm going to make my move on people, or when can I make my move based on like what I'm good at and like the time in the event and all that sort of stuff. Winning a workout because I know that I'm going to win it is not that fun to me.
Yep, I get it.
It's like what I think I expect that of myself. Whereas,
so you enjoyed event 1 where you took second more than the swim event?
I mean, I wouldn't, like, event 1 was very, very painful. So,
I mean, just to get to go neck and neck with Maddie and hear the crowd and come off first off the rower and then have to fight.
Yeah. Like, those are the sorts of events that, and like, I love events where I surprise myself. Like, the swim, I'm never really going to surprise myself.
Could you have gone faster?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I didn't need to do backstroke. I could have gone faster on freestyle. I could have gone faster on the freestyle that I did. I could have gone faster on the burpees, but I didn't need to. I just needed to win.
Yeah. That's all. I think it was an interview I saw with you where, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was someone else, but when you're a good swimmer, it's like being a good runner or good at jump rope. It's a place to regulate your heartbeat as opposed to a place to skyrocket it.
Yeah. Like, I know. So obviously, like, there are so few events where swimming is such an advantage. Like, we get one workout in a games setup, like, where you're going to have a swim. And whereas, like, if you're a good runner, like, look at the advantage that Amy had on every run.
Yeah.
Like, or
And
Haley has had in the past. Like, Amy has a background of running. And, you know, the gymnasts get that every time. The weightlifters get that every time. If you're a swimmer, you get it on one event. And so it's like,
yeah, running's definitely huge. And I think Amy was like on the Isle of Man. I think she was one of the greatest. I mean, obviously it's a small pool of people.
Yeah,
but I think she's one of the greatest runners ever to come out of the Isle of Man. Yeah.
And I think, you know, when it comes to swimming, like, the reason that in any workout that swimming is in, I will always have an advantage is that if the swimming is a small amount I can afford to push everything else so much more and just try and recover on the swim, because I know that my recovery pace will be faster than most people trying to push.
Recovery
And
pace. That's
so I can basically up my effort on everything else that isn't the swim and still be faster.
Your
And
burpees
if
looked
the swimming is
incredible, by the
the
way. Your burpees looked incredible.
oh, thanks. I mean, they were, yeah, it was fine. Like, it was fine. Like, but I think if the swimming is the main thing, my fast pace is so much faster than everyone else's fast pace. Like, I have more gears to where I can swim than most other people do.
And you never went into your fastest gear in the pool.
No.
What was I going to say here? Oh, regarding your swimming though, when your first year at the games, I remember thinking, I had speculated that because you were such a good swimmer, also that your muscle endurance must be pretty good, and that does translate to other movements, right?
Yeah.
Like at 80%, you have crazy muscle endurance because of all the time you spent in the pool, like on the ski erg and shit like that.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like, I definitely felt it on the erg event, that like I made a massive move on the ski because my
Okay,
lats
this year you did? This year
Yeah.
you did? Okay, that's awesome.
And you know, like when it comes to an event like like the Hopper 2007 Hopper, where it's like a lot of repetitive pulling and stuff like that, I'm comfortable with that sort of stuff. Like, I think it's one of the things that, like, my lats are very much type 1 fibers.
Type 1 fibers. Of course, I don't know what that is.
The long, slow twitch.
You have the long, slow fibers. Hey, tell me about that event. So when you got off the road, do you remember what place you were in and how many people you passed? And can you see it on the screen when you're on the erg? Because that must be exciting as you pass people. That must be like getting just shots of dopamine.
Well, that was one of the things, because like I asked in the briefing, like, what information are we going to have on the rower?
And they said none.
Or on the screens, and they said none.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great, there's going to be such a dull, like, half an hour.
Yeah.
And then we got on it, and
I'm glad to hear you say this, by the way, because I remember that too. In the behind the scenes, I remember you asking that and filming that, and they said none. And then now when I hear people's stories, they're like, I saw so-and-so, and I saw so-and-so.
Well, I think, you know, sometimes they don't understand how important the information that you have is.
Yeah.
Because also, like, let's say that we have no information. I could be really close to, I could be catching someone. And, you know, from a viewer perspective, this is not a super exciting event from a spectator perspective. But if they know that I'm catching someone, and if I know that I'm catching someone, and suddenly I have more of an incentive to keep pushing to catch that person, then you start creating some really fun races.
Yeah.
And so when we sat down, I was expecting to have no information on my screen, but they said that the Jumbotron would have information on. And so my coach was sat in front of me, and actually where we were, so I didn't realize it until we actually sat on the rowers, but there was screens of the Jumbotron that were like underneath it, that were angled down, so we could actually see it. You had to look up quite aggressively, but like you could see it. So I was getting ready to be able to have a look at that, to see if there was any information on there on where I was. And then we start rowing, and you realize that actually they do have some sort of information on where you are relative to the people in front. So I think it says like the person that's in front and how far they are from you. And then it says the person that's in front of you and the person that's behind you, or something like that. And then distances that they are relative to you.
So it's actually quite a bit of information. It goes from none to a lot.
So it was like, it would be like minus 16 meters plus 10 or whatever. Okay. So you know that the person in front of you, you know the lane that they're in, and you know the distance that they are relative to you.
Wow.
Obviously that sort of you don't necessarily know exactly who it is unless you know the lane numbers of everyone.
Right.
But like I knew what lane I was in, so I knew the people either side of me. And so I think I got off the rower maybe within the top 10. Like I wasn't top, I don't think I was top 5. Also, I'd had a bit of like a sort of hip back niggle coming into the game. So actually sitting on the rower for that duration of times was really not comfortable for me at all. And then I knew that the ski erg was where I wanted to make my move, because I know that my lat endurance is pretty good. And I also know that it's not the erg that we spend time on in comparison to the other ergs. As in, like, if you're doing a 4K or however far it was that we ended up doing, like 3.5, I think it was. If you're doing that, you rarely do it on a ski. Like,
Right.
you'd be more likely to sit on a C2 bike for 7K or to row for that duration than you would be to do it on a ski. So I had a feeling that like a lot of people wouldn't really know what pace they were going to sit at on that. Whereas I think with the row, they would know pretty much their exact pacings. So yeah, when I got on the ski, it was like sort of not cruise the first K, but like settle into your pace on the first K. And then in the second 2.5, that's then where you like try and push. And you could see, like, it was exciting, like seeing the gap close and then like the overtake. And I was like, you know, it came into the last, I think, 500 meters. And I was like, I don't know whether I could, like, is it doable for me to catch Olivia? Because I was closing on her. And I was looking, so my coach and I had agreed to sort of have some sort of signal on whether or not to like really go for it if he thought that it was doable, or whether to like stay where you were or whatever. Because obviously we went into this thinking that I would have no information. And then every time, so imagine that I'm skiing, every time I would look through the ski erg to him, where I'm like waiting for some sort of signal, he would be looking up at the jumbotron, and then apparently he was shouting and I couldn't hear a thing that he was saying.
Yeah.
So we just completely missed each other the whole time.
And there's 30 machines humming around you plus the crowd.
Can't hear a thing.
Yeah.
Plus the MCs, like you've got no hope basically. But then I caught him like at like coming up to the 500 mark, and he was like, just go for it, just let's see. So all of a sudden I think my pace dropped from like a 152 to like a 145, and I was like, just hold a 145 or less for like the last 500 and just see what you can do. And like, I don't know,
were you already in second when he said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I was in second and closing, so it was like if Olivia didn't really go, then I would have been like, I don't know whether I would have caught her.
I would love to see how far behind you were. Like, did you make up? I wonder if you made up like a minute on everyone in the erg, because you were. I'm trying to think. First was 27:36, and then you were 27:46. Let me see what third place is.
So
third place was 28:03. I mean, that means you're 15 seconds ahead of Haley Adams. I wonder at some point when you entered that if you were a minute behind Haley Adams. I bet you were quite a bit behind.
So I know
it's a crazy race.
Olivia was like 120 meters ahead or something when I got onto the erg, when I got onto the ski, which is probably like 30 seconds or so. Yeah, I don't think it was quite a minute, but
what, you know, I mean, obviously it's easy for me to say, but what they really need is they need like little horses.
Well,
on a screen, you know what I mean? Like at the county fair, just go across.
Didn't they have it in the marathon? They had them like all set up.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think in the marathon row, they had some sort of like screen so that the spectators could actually see where people were relative. And I was sort of expecting that to be on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
So I was a bit, confused about why they didn't, because from a viewer perspective, I think that would have been a bit more exciting.
Yeah, that would have been well. And then, yeah, the crowd, as you passed people, you could get like a tactile feeling because the crowd would fucking go bonkers.
Yeah.
There was an interview you did with Lauren Khalil that was really, really good. I think it was on Sunday. I loved everything about it, even how she shot it was awesome. And it's a pretty crazy moment because she's catching you and you're basically saying, hey, I can't be first. I have to fight for the podium now, and I have to fight for between second and third. It was that a hard interview to do? Like I was squirming a little bit when I was watching it. You know what I mean? Because it felt so intimate. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be watching this.
I don't think it was like I'm pretty realistic with these sorts of things. You know, I also know like if Amy is like 100 points ahead, she's not going to be last in whatever this next workout is. So like it is basically impossible to catch her. I just know those things. And like at that point in the event, it's not, you can't feel anything about that. It just is. And so, you know, I saw Colton's post about like being asked that question, oh, how do you feel about this? Or like, what does it feel like? Or whatever it was that he was asked. And like his answer is spot on. There's like certain points in time where you just can't feel anything about that. You just have to deal with the situation in front of you. And like that was what I had to do at that point in time. Like I couldn't catch Amy. And so there was still a chance that I could get into second. And so that then had to become the new focus, just like do whatever I can to do that.
First of all, thank you. It's very generous of you because that's like those are the best moments. Like when you're like, because then we're really getting a look inside the athletes, and that's kind of what you're hoping for. And behind the scenes moments like that, the one you had with Lauren. Do you, when you say that out loud, are you hearing it for the first time too, or it's something you had already thought of like an hour before?
No, I just like, I think, you know, it's just something that I'm aware of the whole time. Like for the most part, it's rare that my focus is like, okay, how do I get from where I am, assuming that I'm not in the top spot, to winning? It's just like, how can I get from where I am to the next step up, like whatever that is. If that's second, then that's second. If that's going from fifth to fourth or third, then that's doing that. It's like you can't I think that this is where a lot of people sort of struggle, is like they don't think about what the next step is, what the next thing is. They think about what their dream is. And like at that point in time, I can't think about my dream. I've got to think about the next step.
Super big picture is gone, and now it's super small picture.
It's not that super, like, yeah, in that situation, like super big picture had sort of gone, but
or you can't even think about it. It's like, hey, there's no point, like, because it's that's what you do on the plane ride over.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, if on the first day I was like thinking about, if I'm always thinking about the big picture, let's say, like if on the first day I'd had a bad event and I'm thinking about the big picture, I'm like, oh God, I'm not gonna win the CrossFit Games, or oh, I'm not gonna podium the CrossFit Games because this one thing. It like it all becomes very dramatic, and like at that point in the competition on day one, you are way too far away from the end of the competition to even be worrying about that.
Mm-hmm. That's a shit. That would be kind of unavoidable, though, right? That, I mean, whoever took last or whoever finished in the bottom 10 on the first day, like, even though you know it does no good to think that, it probably creeps in, right?
I think
like, oh shit, like Jason, like at some point Jason had to have been like, oh shit, this is not going the way I wanted it to, pretty early. Like on the run, like just imagine being in his place in the run. Yeah. Great runner, and then gets in and then finishes 820th or whatever he finished. He's got to be like, oh shit. But I guess on the other hand, Vellner had to deal with that every year, and he fought back.
And I think that's the thing, is that like there's always examples of that. And actually in this situation in this year where we had so many events, to me that's still the same, where like you actually can't afford to have those thoughts that early on because it's one event.
Yeah. The first year when you took 16th, were you that in 2022? And for people who don't know, you know, you had a real debilitating injury in your wrist, and it was like you had reached the point of like, hey, this might not be the path. You were at a point of like, hey, maybe I just need to have CrossFit as a lifestyle part, and then go into like whatever I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And you gave it one final push to see if you could deal with the injury, and you make it to the CrossFit Games and you take 16th. Going back to that, were you able to enjoy that 16th? And
Obviously,
did you enjoy?
The injury was after the 16th.
Oh, sorry. You're right. So you take 16th. Okay, then let me rework the question. I apologize. Were you happy that year when you took 16th in 2022?
I wouldn't say I was particularly satisfied with that.
Okay. Are you harder on yourself this year, taking a third and being on the podium with clearly two absolute savages? There's no like, oh, how did Emma or Amy get there? There's not, you know what I mean? Or boy, they got lucky. It's just like, holy shit, they're doing it. Which was 16th more satisfying than third?
Ooh. I think
Easier to deal with?
I think 16th was easier to deal with because I first of all I won 2 events, which was like really, I think I hoped to win the swim. I definitely didn't expect to win Jackie Pro. And also I think like because I won the last event of the weekend, it sort of had a really nice like rounding to it. But it was a very much roller coaster. Like I had some really good, really bad, like it was just a bit all over the place. It was also a bit of a strange games. Like I think everyone has sort of said that in terms of the events that we had, like it was a bit of an anomaly in some cases. And yet almost like this year is a bit like that, where like we had some really rogue skill tests where we also had that same thing in 2022. And so I think in some ways this year is, I know that I've said the opposite, but it's thinking about that. This year almost shows how far I've come on those sorts of things. Like, yeah, okay, I couldn't figure out the backward rolls until I got there, which isn't ideal. I couldn't figure out the triple unders in the way that I would have liked to. There were some quite unsatisfying events in this weekend. Like the sandbag toss was just like quite frustrating because like it's not just about the power, it's also about like the trajectory and the point of release and, you know, and did the bag drop at the right point so that it rolled, or like just stuff like that I find really unsatisfying and quite frustrating. But there was a lot of those sorts of kind of quirky events where we had that in 2022 in a different way. And in 2022 I finished 16th, and this year with those events, with a bigger test around it, like I finished 3rd. And so there's a lot from this year to be happy with, but I think I'm also unsatisfied and frustrated, and like, you know, there's a couple of things where I was just like on the wrong side of Emma, for instance, like on the hang squat clean event, or on the bike, I lost to her by 0.01 of a second, like just really annoying things that I think, and there's a couple of other things around that, but like it just, yeah, there's a, it's not a sour taste, but I'm like, let's fucking work on this. Like, let's go.
Oh, I love to hear you say that. I would like to hear the other things. Those are very interesting. The bike, and you said you're on the wrong side on the hang squat clean, meaning
Yeah,
you
just
you meaning you couldn't see her, and
no, no,
you.
no. I mean, like I finished on the wrong side of her. Like it was a
Oh,
tight race.
oh,
She got the win in that situation, and like,
yeah.
you know, Amy obviously won the bike event, but Emma literally just beat me out. Just stuff like that. That's like, now you look back and see the spectrum of events, and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have like been able to get that or whatever. Like, and on the hang clean event, like I had a shocker in the first round, where actually like I went to rebound the barbell and it just like dead stopped on my legs and I got absolutely nothing from it. And like we were practicing with the stubby bars in the back, but I don't know what happened with my first rep on this. So I did the first squat clean, went to rebound hang clean number 2, and just got put on my ass. And I was like, oh God, like if this is how this is going to go, this is not going to be the event that I thought it was going to
Like
be.
literally, you fell down.
Like literally, I don't know whether I fell down, but I got like pushed back
Yeah.
and failed the rep. And I was like, I'm in trouble here. But actually, then that was one of the things that made it like a really fun event, was because I didn't end up coming out of that first set of hang cleans where I thought I was going to relative to the field. And so then I was able to like pick people off and I worked through the field on the second round. And then all of a sudden it was like me, Amy, Emma, and Ellie on the third round. And then it was me chasing Emma on the fourth round. And we were like head to head going into the last set of hang cleans. And like, that was a moment that like I loved, even though I didn't end up finishing where I wanted to finish in that.
Right. God, you really are a competitor. You like, these are things I cannot comprehend. That's pretty amazing. Okay, and then this is going somewhere. And then so 23 and 24, you have the injury that's like you might be done.
Yeah.
And then 25, you come back and you take second, and now you take a third. Now there's kind of expectations on you. I think a lot of people thought you were going to win the games this year. Do you feel that expectation?
Yeah, I did feel that. I think like one of the things that I find hard is that like, you know, not everyone's an analyst.
Right.
So I think sometimes people like go with their heart picks.
Yeah.
Rather than like looking at the things that have come out. And it's very flattering. Like I like that people, you know, clearly
We're just fans, and I'm just like,
yeah,
damn, Lucy's gonna fucking
enough,
this is
are
Lucy's
excited
year.
enough
Yeah.
that they think that I'm gonna do it. But
It's
when
your
I
fault.
see,
It's your fault because the way you carry yourself. It's all your fault.
and you know, that's good. Like I want to be entertaining. I want people to like watching me and like and sort of serve people in that way. Like ultimately we are, and we're gladiators. We are the entertainment.
Yep.
But I think the thing that I find hard is that then when the event started to come out and like I could see that there was quite a few that I was going to struggle with. Like when the first events got announced and it was like the total is one of the events, and I was like, oh God, great. Okay. Like this is a big deal and I'm not going to finish that high. And then they announced that the pig and the snail were coming back, and I had a terrible time with the pig in 2022, and I'd never used a snail, but I know it's a heavy implement. And so I'm like, okay, so we've got the total event that's heavy, we've got the pig and the snail that are heavy implements, and then they announced the triple unders and the press to handstand and the rolls, and I'm like, okay, great, like I can't really do any of these things. And I think that's sometimes where I struggle to like sort of, I struggle with that difference in what other people are expecting of me with like a heart pick rather than like looking at the events and like the data and where, you know, knowing me as an athlete might put me. And I also think that like I will always put myself lower than what other people will put me. So I think there's also that as well for me, that like I will never expect a podium. Like I'm not that sort of person, and I sort of wish I was. I wish I had a bit more confidence going into that sort of thing and putting myself in that position. And it's definitely actually something that I would love to try and work on this year, because I think it would make the whole process coming into events a bit more pleasant, like what we spoke about before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's almost that like the difference in expectation versus like what the data is actually saying versus like all that sort of thing. No, the unknowable is not a weakness. I have no issue with the unknowable as long as it's unknowable for everyone. But I think that I actually would rather everything be unknowable, because sometimes it's knowing everything that is the thing that I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to do very well in that, and this person is going to do really well in that. And then those are the conversations that go on in my head.
And you kind of said that in the beginning of the show too. Yeah, it's those 2 weeks as the workouts start to roll out.
Yeah.
The brain gets busy.
Yeah.
How granular do you get before the games? Do you get pretty granular? Are you like, okay, the total's gonna come out and I'm gonna take 19th in the back squat? Do you do that? No, like
I rarely actually put placements to sort of how I think I'm gonna do.
That's good, because that would be I think that would be just a spiraling situation. I think last time I had you on, we talked about this balance. You clearly want to sustain your life, right? Pay your rent, buy food, be able to put gas in your car, but you had made the decision to, and you could have gone to WFP and made money, but you decided not to. In hindsight, what do you think about that decision? Are you happy with that decision?
Yeah, I think so. Like I could have made more money if I'd have stayed in the WFP season. That is a little bit frustrating, but ultimately, like I made that decision for the longevity of my career. And, you know, I've just turned 30. Like I'm not a 24-year-old. Like I qualified for my first games at 25 or 24, and I was 25 at the games. And no, I was 26 at the games. Anyway, I qualified for my first games, like I guess comparatively late from where you see people now. Like the women's field is a very young field.
Yep.
And
yeah, you're 10 years. I think you're 10 years older than Olivia, just to put it in perspective. I think she's 20 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, this is a thing. Like Olivia, Lucy, Emma, like they've been doing CrossFit for longer than I have. Right. And I'm 30 and they're like 19 to 21.
Yeah. They're wrapping up puberty.
Yeah. And so, you know, I do have to treat all these things differently. And I think also like when it comes to income streams and stuff like that, like I do have quite a few options in the fact that like I've got experience as a CrossFit coach, which means that I do coach classes occasionally. I would love to do more seminars that I've done in the past, like all of those sorts of things that are a bit more sort of sustainable outside of the, you know, the limited years that I've got as a competitor. And so it's not that I don't feel like I have to make all of the money at this point in time, but like, I also know that the money doesn't stop if I don't make it all at this point in time. And like, I have options. I would love to go back into broadcast because I really enjoyed doing the commentating stuff.
Very good at that. You're very good. There's no money there, but you're very good.
But like, it's a fun thing. And like, It was, you know, I also know that there's not that many women in the podcasting space. So like, I've thought about that a little bit. And I also think that, you know, there's an attention that comes with that sometimes that can be positive, can be negative, that I don't know whether I'm ready to deal with at this point in time when I'm still an athlete on the floor. But there's things like that I think would be fun to explore. And so I think overall, when it comes to that decision, like I really struggle to compete just for fun, like purely to just go into it and be like, this is a job. I just need to tick this off and get the paycheck and get out the door. And so I think for that reason, kind of stepping away from WFP was the right decision as well, because it was just a lot of stuff going on in terms of stress. And like the thing is as well that my body was showing me signs of that. Like I knew that I was under stress
going into the season, going into the games this
like
year.
dealing with last season.
Okay.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
You had mentioned some niggles coming into the games. You said your hip and your back. When did that show up, and how serious was that?
I think it was just after Mayhem, honestly. Like, I don't know whether it was the volume of that like intensity and that kind of hingy workout that we had with the ski and the toe spa and the GHDs and stuff. I don't know whether that sort of kick-started it, but I've been dealing with it for a little while. So it's one of the things actually for off season that we need to sort of tackle head on, because you don't want to let these things linger into next season. And that also, coming back to the WFP decision, like that is also a big part of it, is that
you are coming back this year?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like, as in referring back to that decision, like those are things that you need to factor in. Is like, if you need to deal with something, if you need to deal with an injury, if you need the time to do those things, you just need the time. Like, you can't compete midway through dealing with the injury like that. And I'm not going to call it an injury. It's nothing like that's been properly diagnosed or anything like that, which is why I'm just saying it's just like niggles. But there's still things.
Did you feel it on that GHD ball throw? Did you feel it?
No.
Or was that too far into the games at that point? You were all just wrecked everywhere.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like adrenaline is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't feel things. I didn't find those that hard. Like, I don't know. I know that a lot of other people are saying, like, I was having a terrible time with the triple unders. So the wallboard GHD things were the least of my concern.
Yeah. When you see last year, it was pretty clear the target's Tia Claire Toomey. This year, when you leave the games, it seems like there could be 3 targets. Now all of a sudden, if Tia comes back, it's you, Emma, and Amy. Have you thought about that? Like, oh boy, it's getting crowded up here in the tier 1 space.
I just feel like it's only good for the sport.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the narrative that's around the men's field and how like dense that is.
Yeah.
Like, it's exciting to me anyway, because
it is,
especially actually when you link to the sorts of events that I've just said that I like, which is not the events that I dominate. Like, it's the events where it's a full on tight to the end, like it's a race. For me, that's the fun thing about sport. Like, I'm not the person that like loves the most dominant athletes, and I'm not meaning this in terms of CrossFit sense. Like, I mean in terms of like growing up, I'm not the person that looks up to like, I'll use American people. Like, I'm not the person that looks up to like a Michael Jordan or someone like that. Like, I look up to the underdogs. I look up to the people who you don't expect to do it, but who are like super gritty and like find their way through. And like, my sisters both used to row, and there was a rower in the UK called Catherine Granger, and she, I think, won, it was like 3 or 4 Olympic silver medals in rowing, and then like finally got a gold. Like, she's one of my favorite athletes because she like did that, and she was like knocking on the door for so long and then managed to do it. And when you look at like the Olympics as well, and you consider the fact that every medal there is 4 years apart, like it shows you how much grit that person needed. And so I think that like the tighter it all becomes, the more exciting it is for the fans. Like the more gripping it is, because you want to watch every event right to the end, because every single placement matters.
You know what I find a bit of a paradox or about you is that how hypercritical you are, and I realize that I think that's the winning formula for a lot of the best athletes, but also how ambitious you sound for getting back to training. You don't let it demoralize you. Like for some people that could be demoralizing, and instead what I'm hearing about you is like you can't wait to get back and start preparing for the 2027 season.
I think it's like,
Whereas with the stories you tell yourself, for me, I would be like, "Fuck, I'm done." That's like your laundry list is gotten long after the games, right?
what do you mean laundry list?
Like your list of things you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this to get better. Whereas for me, if I made that laundry list, like I would freak out. Like I'm a shoot and then aim kind of guy. You're like making the list of all your fucking targets, and I would see that and it would crush me.
I think it's just like if you look at all of that all at once, then it would become a bit like that. Whereas I think if it's like you sort of just see it as things to like pick off at, then it becomes just a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
It's like that whole big picture, small picture thing that we spoke about. Like the laundry list is the big picture. The list of things that I need to work on is like the big picture. But what I'm working on right at this point in time is like that small thing.
Greg told me this one time running CrossFit. He said the most underrated skill of successful people is their ability to go from scope to focus. So to go from the 1,000,000-foot view down to the like 1-foot view. And he said most people can't do that. They get stuck in a perspective that's somewhere like in the middle, and that's the only reality they have. Or they get stuck at their level, and that's the only reality they have. It's wild, and it seems like you really have that skill.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's also something where, like, you know, even in day-to-day CrossFit gyms, like, you see it so clearly. Like, when people cannot get carried away in the remaining things that they need to work on, rather than actually just enjoying the fact that they've got so much better at this one thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes them really demoralized, and like they're not able to enjoy how much they've improved on something, or like getting their first skill. I think because they're thinking now about like, okay, so I've got my first pull up, I'm immediately thinking about like, how do I link 5, or like how do I then do like 10 in a workout, or like, and it becomes too big picture too quickly. It's like always the next thing. And I think that's definitely something that I struggle with a little bit, where I always want the next thing. And I think that's, you know, I wish sometimes I sat and like celebrated some of those things a bit more, like celebrated winning Wodapalooza for the first time, and like going back to the games for the first time. Whereas it was like, because it was just sort of just part of the big picture, it was just like, yeah, okay, like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes. But I think like, you know, it's when you go into a gym setting, it's like everyone wants to be this like RX athlete. So they're just constantly sort of unsatisfied until they're at that level.
Yeah.
And then you get to that level and you don't even realize that you're at that level, because you're constantly then like, okay, well, I've got my first ring muscle up that sort of now makes me an RX athlete, but I can't really link them. So I'm not very good still.
Right. Very well said. Are you going to Wodapalooza SoCal?
No, I don't know if I should be saying this. No,
I'm not. And what I don't really know what's going on. Have they not announced that stuff yet?
Well, I think they've announced some of the camps.
Okay. If you don't want to answer this, it's fine. But why aren't you going? Is it because you're resting?
Combination of a lot of things. Number one, it's like a 9-hour flight over there. It's an 8-hour time difference.
Yeah, it's like quite a journey.
4 events. They've also changed the not that this is a major reason as to why I went, but like off-season events are quite often, you know, there needs to be some sort of bigger financial incentive. They've changed that slightly this year.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just wasn't like, also I can't be bothered with the whole like camp rivalry stuff.
Okay.
I'm like, you guys crack on trying to kill each other. I just, you know, that's fine.
And Rogue?
Rogue is TBC.
Because they haven't done invites yet?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you not know, or you're just not saying?
Both.
Okay. Fair enough. A little bit of both. Okay. If you were invited, would you go?
Yeah.
Yeah. And anything else in the season that you're doing that you know of?
I'm going out to, there's an event in should I say it yet? I don't know whether I don't think they've actually announced it yet, so I'm just not going to say anything right now.
Okay, fair enough. But potentially another event that you have your eyeball on.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm not saying this to pry to get any clues, but it probably would give a clue. Does there become, if you know, after the games were over, they put that thing up on the board that said 206 days till the Open starts. Do you have you and Cyril have a plan that like, hey, 100 days before we're gonna hunker down? Like, hey, it's like lock Lucy in the gym and let's give it to work.
I mean, Cyril might have that plan, but I haven't yet. He's not. We've actually not spoken yet since I've started. I only started back in training on Tuesday this week, so I'm going back up to Manchester on Monday morning for a couple of hours just to catch up with him, and that will be our first like opportunity to debrief the games and also to like really plan the things that we need to plan this season, like how we're going to change things and like ways that we might sort of shake things up a bit.
And do you come to that meeting with your thoughts and ideas, and he comes with his thoughts and ideas, or are you just surrender and let him?
No, I mean, there's certain things that I'll surrender and let him sort of take control of. I definitely have some thoughts on last season. Like I don't think that I do enough of the sort of more game specific stuff early enough. And so I've said that to him. Like we had that conversation.
Can you give me an example of like what that would be?
You know, just like regularly having sort of freestanding handstand push-ups in a workout, for instance, when we do that, like that sort of stuff that only really comes out of the games. I want to feel way more confident with those sorts of skills, just from like the amount of times that we've touched on them during the year rather than just in the run up to the games.
Right.
And like I'll say things like that to him, and whether he like we'll talk about what he thinks about that, and like ultimately it's a pretty collaborative approach from that perspective. If he doesn't want me doing that and he says to me why, then I'll go with him. Like he's the one that makes the call at the end of the day. And I trust him on that. But I do have some thoughts, and how much he wants to take them on or we choose to sort of incorporate them is then up to us.
Will there be these things where you can gain or lose a half a second, like grabbing the bar with two hands, or where you place the jump rope after, you know, in between rounds? Do you guys work on that together too? Are there sessions where it's just like, hey, let's nitpick the fuck out of this and get the transitions like perfect?
No, I mean, I'm usually pretty good at being that picky with those sorts of things. I quite often think about like, I think some of it is almost like second nature, almost like coming from swimming. You know, do you remember that workout that was it was a open workout maybe 20 21.4 or something, or 20.4. And it was like the 20-minute AMRAP. It was really small rep scheme, and it was dumbbell thrusters, toes to bar, and double unders.
Okay.
It was like 4, 8, 24, 20-minute AMRAP. And you're just like going round in circles for 20 minutes, basically. I actually find those things quite like simple, like just getting into the rhythm of every single thing, feeling the same, and like where I step is exactly the same, like where, just so that you allow yourself to really settle into the rhythm of it. And I think that then goes back into like my swimming days where I can just hold that because everything feels the same. I think like, so from that perspective, in terms of like the transitions and things like that, when it's a longer duration workout, I think I'm usually pretty good at. I think the thing that I could push a little bit more is being more aggressive on short workouts that are very execution heavy, where the risk is you fail it. Because like, to me, I'm sometimes quite I then zone in on the execution, and I'm like, I have to execute this. So I sometimes take just a little bit more time rather than zoning in on the execution and then finding every second in the execution. I'm like, the priority is that I don't fail.
So maybe flirting with that more.
Yeah.
The two events I think of that I think are good examples are at Torian Pro, when people were going over the wall. You would see there. I don't know if you watched that event, but the final event, I think it's like called King Arthur.
Yeah.
And people's techniques were changing so much. Even individual athletes were changing their techniques as they went over the wall so much. It was, and then by the time they got to the end, usually what I think I would notice is that their technique was the best by the end. They had done enough reps where they figured out the smoothest. But it would also go the other way, or at the games, that when people would jump off the box, some people had really good technique in terms of minimal time to turn around and get back up, where other people, you could see they hadn't thought about it, that they had to step over the line. Colton had this crazy technique where he would jump down and let the weight of his body force his hands to touch the ground. I didn't see anyone else do that. And then James Sprague was clearly always jumping over the line. And then some people would jump in front of the line and then take 2 steps. And so those are the things I wonder, like, I always wonder how much coaches are like, hey, like, we lost 5 seconds on that workout because in the 10 transitions, we lost a half a second each.
And I think that's the thing where, like, you can, for me, when I watch workouts like that, you can see where people are in the flow. Like, when you're changing every single rep, or when you're changing every 2 or 3, you can tell that that person's thoughts are not like single. You know what I mean? They're just all over the place.
Yeah.
And so like that then.
That's why you usually see by the end of the workout, like 2 rounds left, they're finally in the flow because they're so beat down, they have to get there.
And for the most part, the people that are the fastest are the ones that are smoothest and straight in from the start.
Yeah. Okay. There was this line that Tia shared about attacking workouts that she shared with me, as opposed to defending once you're doing well. Does that resonate with you? The difference between when you're kind of trying to defend your placement as opposed to attacking, always being on the attack?
Yeah, I think you know, when you get ahead, you have a more powerful position in a workout. Like, if you are ahead and you're comfortable in being ahead in your placement and your like strategy in that workout, you just have, there's a lot more control. Like, but I think when it comes to, if you're talking about on a leaderboard perspective, like,
I mean more like in a workout. Yeah, I guess both.
I mean, in a workout, like you don't need to attack all the time. Like, you need to attack at certain points. But like, if you are someone that can get ahead, you can then see when the attacks are coming, and then you can decide when to go. But the thing is that you have to be fit enough to get ahead and not cost yourself too much that then you can afford to like make those attack. Like, if you think about it, like Tour de France. Do you watch much Tour de France?
Yeah, I watched it one year, the entire thing. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I bought like the 20 DVD set, and I just sat down and watched it one year. It was crazy.
Wow.
Like how they work together and attack up the hills and all that. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, exactly. So it's like, you know, you don't chase every break. Like, some breaks you just let them go. And then you decide when you actually, like, if you're in the right position and you have the right energy and you've got the right people around you. Obviously, we're in a solo sport, so some of these analogies are not super transferable. But when the conditions are right, let's say, then you choose to go. So it's like, it's a bit like that. Like,
or like even in the running event, if everyone else takes off hot,
you let them go.
Yeah, you don't necessarily attack. You don't necessarily keep up with them. You stay in your game. You don't let your ego get the best of you.
And it was a bit like what happened with the with our bike heat. Like, I think Holly took it out. I then ended up in the front for the second lap, and I was like, I don't want to go. We're in lap 2 of 20. I'm not leading this for 20 laps. So I slowed down, and then Amy came across, and Amy made a break. And I was like, and I'm not chasing Amy on my own. So unless someone else is going, I'm not going. Amy can go and do the work. And then Emma came around in front of me. And so I jumped onto Emma because I was like, well, Emma's going to go and then we can push. And then that's when the breakaway happened, because we were all able to go and that was the right point to go. But it's like, that's where you're like waiting for the right conditions. You are sort of defending, sort of attacking. Like, you just want to be in the right placement all the time. But there is a different mentality to, and I guess it's more in terms of like where you're looking as well. Like, if you're ahead and you're defending, then you're looking at everyone, but you also really know who you're paying attention to in terms of who are the people that are just behind you. Like, you know, who's in second and third if you're winning. If you are attacking, if you're chasing, you're basically only looking at one person.
Great insights. Hey, there's an interview with you, I think, on the CrossFit Games Instagram, where you talk about somewhere in there in the race. I guess it sounds like you and Amy and Emma didn't talk before the race that you were going to work together, but the actual conversation happened on the field of play.
Yeah.
That's wild. Why didn't you guys talk? Some people were, some of the boys for sure were talking about it ahead of time. I heard Moritz and Jay having a conversation at the starting line. Did you guys not think to talk about it ahead of time, or is it not appropriate? Or
I think I just didn't know if I was going to be with people. Like, I didn't know who I was going to be with, because there were some good girls. Like, there were some good cyclists in that race. So that's the thing then. So much of it depends on who's making the right decisions at the right point in time.
Yeah.
So then you make the call with the group that you have created.
And what's that sound like? Like lap 3, who says it? You, Emma, or Amy? Do one of you say, "Hey, let's stick together," and then the other two, and then you hear the other two go, "Okay"?
I think when,
because you guys were flying. I can't imagine having a conversation out there. I mean, you guys were flying.
So I think when Emma and I were coming up to the back of Amy, that was when, I don't know whether it was Emma or I who said it, but we were like, let's push this, as in like, let's break away. And then Amy was at the head at the start there. And then when we came round to the start of the next lap, we basically ended up, I think, calling Amy off the front. Or she was like, when am I coming off, or something like that. So we then started to think about like, how are we going to rotate it? And we ended up basically just being like, right, well, we'll do roughly a lap each, like rotate it through. And then I think the thing that we should have said is like, at some point, come the last 2 laps, so we do this until we're at lap 18. Last 2 laps, it's all for yourself. I think we should have said that explicitly, because then the other thing that happened that I didn't realize in that event, I'm giving away to you, by the way, everything that I'm going to say in my blooming event recap. So you people that are watching better come and watch mine later. So Aline Veers also ended up coming onto the back of ours after they had the crash. So there was a crash behind us.
Did you hear that? Could you hear the crash?
Yeah, heard it. Don't know who caused it or what happened. But I think Aline potentially cut inside the barrier and ended up catching us, like made a beeline to catch us.
What do you mean cut inside the barrier? Like shorten the track?
I don't know. I mean, this is what I was told. I actually haven't looked back at that part of the event.
Okay.
But
she cut inside the barrier to avoid the accident, or?
Yeah. And I don't know where she was relative to the accident, whether it was like literally right in front of her or what. But she ended up catching us. And then because we actually didn't realize, so we were lapping some people, we didn't realize that she wasn't one of the people that we had lapped. She was actually part of our group. So then the whole time, Amy, Emma, and I were the ones doing the pulling. Aline was just fourth the whole time, drafting at the back of all of us.
Yeah.
And then nearly got Emma and I at the end. And I was like, I had no idea that she was on the last lap with us. It was like hilarious, but I was also like, you shady. Like that was smart, but like, bro, come on.
There is a weird kind of, you guys are all competitors, and there's a weird kind of trust in that, right? I think the boys had a similar thing with Moritz.
In what way? What do you mean?
Just that they felt like it sounded, just from talking to Moritz and talking to the boys, it sounded like they thought Moritz didn't do his fair share at the front.
Yeah,
but it's kind of hard to say that when it's a competition, right? Because it's
interesting, because I think with that bike event especially, there's a few things that are sort of like etiquette type things, like you take your turn at the front and then you drift back in and that sort of thing. Not everyone necessarily knows that, but I do think that there should have been something around explicitly that was like said in a briefing, you know, what's the etiquette if you are the people that are being lapped? Because we were like coming round the outside of people that were staying on the inside that were being lapped, and actually like it should really be that they move out to let the fastest people through. I think that
I saw Colton do that, move out to the outside.
Right, and that's the thing. And obviously, like, you know, I listened to Ellie and Justin's like recap, and their crash was caused by someone that was getting lapped, and like stuff like that. I think it should have been explicitly said at the start, like, what do you do in that situation?
I think I did hear that in the brief. They didn't say that in the brief. I thought they said like, hey, if you're slower, you got to give up the inside track. No,
I don't think I heard that.
Okay.
If I did, there were people in our heat that didn't abide by that either.
Right.
But like, yeah.
Was that event scary? A little scary? Like more tense than most events?
I think not necessarily scary, but like I think there's part of like pack cycling that relies on people knowing what they're doing.
Did you rub wheels with anyone?
I was close at times, which is also why I actually really wanted the breakaway, because I didn't want to be in a big group with people, trusting that other people wouldn't clip my back wheel all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think like there is, that bit was quite stressful. Once we were away, I was sort of fine. But I think it's hard on those events where you're like, most of our events, let's say, are very much like closed events, as in like you have your lane, no one is interfering with you. Like as a group of athletes, we're not really familiar with those sorts of like elbows out, like holding your space sort of thing. And like events where you have to make the call and where you have to hold your own, and those sorts of gameplay events, I guess, like pack events. And so I think there is always an element of like just nervousness a little bit, because like in the 500-meter run, for instance, like there is a bit of like jostling for position there, and someone had sort of leant into the bollard thing that was in front of me, so then it like came out and like hit me sideways, and like it's stuff like that where that's nothing to do with how I can run, but it's part of what you have to do in that situation. Like someone cutting into you just in front when you're going around the bollard means that you have to slow down or you risk falling over. But like, yeah, it's all of that sort of stuff. I think that.
What did you call that thing? You called that that pylons? You called it a bollard? Sturdy, short post used to control track. Oh, bollard. Oh, I never heard that word. Okay, a bollard.
But I think like those events where it's not strictly like you and your lane, where someone else can affect you.
Yeah.
Like, and then, those events are also where like you can get equipment malfunctions, like Pat kicking off his pedal.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I think I remember hearing Adrian Bosman say after it happened, he said, I need to go get that pedal off the track. And I remember thinking, oh, he doesn't need to get that pedal off the track now. He can get it after. But then he was right, because at the end of the race, someone's like, yeah, I almost crashed. I hit that pedal.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thing is, it's not necessarily like, I don't think that those sorts of events should be taken out of it, but they're the sort of events where there's going to be a slightly higher level of anxiety, because there's not just your decisions, but also the decisions of other people around you and how that affects you.
Right. Yeah, the mass start sprint was I mean, both of those events as spectators were pretty darn fun. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed the biking.
Really? That's surprising. Yeah.
I was really surprised how much I enjoyed the biking. Also, I was just right there at the starting line, but it was fun. Every time you guys came around, it was crazy, and we could hear you guys talking to each other, and it was cool. And there was a lot of. That was where the cramping started. So there was a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate you coming on. Always an amazing interview. Someone said I'll never not click on an Lucy Campbell interview. Yeah, you are such a pleasure. I was really excited to have you on this morning. You're so easy.
Oh, thank you. No, it's been nice.
All right. Cheers. Thank you. Congratulations. And thanks for sharing all those insights. And say hi to your coach for me. You guys should be so proud. Oh, one final question. Were your parents at the games? Where's your family?
Yeah. My mum, basically everyone except for my dad and my grandma was.
And what did your mom think?
Seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think like we've not properly debriefed from a spectator perspective.
Does she stress?
I think they all stress a bit, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good. That makes me feel better as a parent.
Yeah.
All right. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. The great Lucy Campbell. Boy, we're lucky to have her. Wow. It's great because she's top level in performance and top level in articulation. Great interview. I can tell you really enjoy it. Yeah, she's awesome. I could listen to her talk forever. She's good. She's very I don't know if this is the right word. She's very well thought out, but maybe that's not the word. Maybe I don't know. I can't tell if she's thought these things before or if she's just pulling them out of the hat in real time. But it's cool to hear her talk about it. She is going to even taught me some new vocabulary. That's correct. And a new body part. Although I thought I heard her say VMO, and then Birchfield said it was BMO. So who knows? Maybe I didn't learn a new body part. Dear friends and family, every morning for the last 5 years between 7 a.m. and somewhere between 8:30 and 9 a.m. I do a podcast. And so if you're looking for me, if in the last 5 years you've called or text me between those times and I don't answer, please know that it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm ignoring you. I'm at my day job. That's it. Just working. Just putting some cheddar on the table. That's it. That's all I want to say. Lucinda's a national treasure. You just like saying Lucinda. Who doesn't like saying Lucinda? I will call you soon. Okay. Tomorrow, Eileen Wers. I'm excited to meet her. Seems like very positive, upbeat. Took 18th at the games, which is crazy. I wonder if she's happy with her finish. She was the one, I think, that replaced Gabby Magawa, someone said in the chat yesterday. Yeah, I agree. I should have called her Lucinda a few times. I know. That was stupid. Corey says, I do like saying Lucinda. It's a great name and what she should go by. Yeah, Lucinda is nice. Lucinda is nice. What's today? Thursday. I have a crazy day today. I have like an adult meeting today. And then I go from this show to then I have like a meeting like where I have to pretend to be an adult, which I suck at. And then I have a 4:30 show, which I still don't know if it's going to be on the Sevon podcast. I don't know where it's going to be. For sure it'll be on the Glinton things. And it is a UFC fight show with Darian Weeks, Jeremy World, and Dylan Val. So that's at 4:30. That's a fun show. And stay tuned for more information. And then Friday, Friday, Eileen, I want to do a show. Sometimes on the CrossFit Games Update show, we'll talk about tiers of athletes. And I kind of wanted to pick the boys' brains, get Seth and Oseroff on and Bryson and kind of see where they think people fall into what tiers they're in. I don't know, how many tiers do you think there are? How many comfortable tiers do you think there are in the female division? Female division's a trip. I guess the men's division's a trip too. No, not those kind of tiers. I think it's not those kind of tiers. Lots of tiers, lots of those tiers. Oh, that's weird. This kind of tier. Here, I'll play the audio for you. Here we go. This kind of not this kind of tier, not this one either.
Tiers.
Not that one.
Third party.
No, not that. No. This one.
Tiers.
Yeah, that one. Levels, rows, or layers placed one above another, or grouped by rank and importance. Yeah, not those kind of tiers either. Not the ones you put on your feet. I wonder how many tiers there are. Like, would you put like, Tia was in she got her own tier. She had her own tier. Does Amy have her own tier? Is it too soon? Who's in James's tier? Anyway, it would be a fun exercise. All right. I will see you guys later on today, 4:30, Glinton Things, and maybe the Sevon podcast. I think they were trying to do a collab. Is that how the kids say it? Collab? Yes. Tia Toomey Orr. Yes, her. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Steroids, they're the sledgehammer. Loud, aggressive, smash your system and deal with the fallout later. You don't want mood swings and roid rage. What if there was another way, a smarter way? Biomax Peptides, the scalpel, precise, targeted, working with your body, not overriding it. Support for recovery, better sleep, more control over appetite and body composition, hair health. We can even fix your Limp Bizkit.